Hey guys, welcome to the investor.bet 2024 season preview. In this video, I'm going to go through where I think every team is going to finish on the ladder at the end of the 2024 season and which sides I think are genuine premiership contenders and go through the reasons why I think that's the case for each of these teams. But before I go through that, I want to tell you why or the reasons how I come up with these number of games teams have won and whether I think they're going to go over their season wins, whether I think their value at their premiership, top 4, top 8 odds, because it's not just based on my opinion whether I think that team is good. The reason I've made full-time income betting for over a decade now is because I use statistics and data to make decisions. So there's 7 different factors that I look at. Firstly, their season stats and rankings from the previous season, their fixture strength and the rating of that fixture coming to this season. How difficult or easy of a schedule do they have? Their lineup and their recruits and departures going into the upcoming season. Are they able to fill holes that have been their weaknesses of previous seasons, or are they losing key players from their lineup that have been key to their success in previous years? Their projected wins from last season or expected wins. So using Pythagorean, how many games should they have won last year compared to how many they actually did win? Their results in close games, because teams that win a lot of close games, it's difficult to replicate that season on season. Their results from last season and their expectations. So did they live up to expectations last year? Was there a lot of hype about them that they didn't live up to? Was there not really any hype and they exceeded expectations? And then the quality of opponents that they won and lost games against, because there's a big difference between the opponents that you've actually beaten. Like, I don't give as much credit to teams that were beating up on bad sides as I do to teams that were winning games against the better quality sides. And then once we go through the entire ladder, I'm going to tell you what you need to win in order to win the premiership. So when you're analyzing teams throughout the season, looking for predictions just not only of games, but of also who you think's going to win the flag at the end of the year when you're a quarter or halfway through the season, or once it gets to finals. These are the factors that you're going to want to look at based off history. So we'll start with the ladder, and starting at the end in 18th position, I think West Coast are going to finish down at the bottom of the ladder once again, very similar to last year. They are the last ranked attack, last ranked defense. They only won the 3 games last season. Can't really see them improving on that all that much this year. There's still a lot of work to do for this team, and they're just losing so many games by big margins. So it's not like compared to North Melbourne, who I have up to 5 wins this season. North were losing games by smaller margins. They weren't constantly getting blown out. So that's going to be a big area to improve for West Coast, just to try and close the margin. I don't think they're going to lose as many games by big margins this season, but it's difficult to see them winning games. They only won 1 of 11 games away from home. Their win-loss is set at 4.5. Last year, they actually set their win-loss at 7.5. So, and they only won the 3 games, hence that number's come down. I think there's not much room to move in a 4.5 over underline, especially when you're leaning towards the under. So I'd stay away from it, but I realistically can't see them winning 5, 6, 7 games or anything like that. North Melbourne on 5 wins. I have them going +2 from last season. Their win-loss over under is set at 5.5. Very similar to West Coast, who are ranked 18th in attack and defense. North Melbourne's ranked 17th in attack and defense. So another team that's consistently struggling, but they weren't getting blown out as many times as the West Coast Eagles. North Melbourne are a team that do struggle away. They've lost 22 of their last 23 away games. Finished bottom 2 for the past 4 seasons, yet to get over 4 wins for the past 4. So I think, 4 to 5 at a stretch, they could get 6 wins, but I probably wouldn't be keen on backing the over under, over 5.5 wins. They're favorite 3 times in 2023. Richmond are a team I'm tipping to drop off a little bit. They had 10 wins last season. I have them coming down to 8 this year. Potentially could even be a touch lower, but they do still have some good quality players throughout their lineup. I feel like they're going to go under their 9.5 win total. They've only won less than 10 games once in the past 7 seasons, and that was in 2021. where they had 9 wins. So it's a little bit of a risk, but it's difficult to see much improvement in the Tigers this year. They're on 9th ranked attack last season, 13th ranked defense. Have an easier schedule this year. But just I feel like they're just continuing to struggle. A new coach coming in this year could add some improvement, but they're definitely going to be a work in progress. And I feel like they're just going to struggle overall, probably be a bit of value backing against them. They're $13 to win the wooden spoon. I can't see them ending up with the wooden spoon with North Melbourne and West Coast both needing to make so much improvement. But I think Richmond is that bottom 4, bottom 6 kind of team. Hawthorn, I have in 15th position. Now the 15th ranked attack and 16th ranked defense struggled, only winning 2 of 12 games on the road. And that's continued over the past 2 seasons, only winning 4 of 23 away from home. At home, they have been good. They did beat Collingwood last season. Their win-loss at 8.5 this year was 6.5 last year. So the bookies are expecting some improvement. I feel like they are going to be on that 8 to 9. I feel like this line is pretty much spot on. The only issue with Hawthorn is they do have a lot of injuries going into the season. So potentially that's going to impact how they go long term, but they did show that they are able to play well against the top teams. They do need to improve against the lower teams. And the reason why I think they can maybe add 1, maybe 2 extra wins compared to last season is just because if they can clean it up against the poor sides and perform like they did against the better teams, then they're definitely a chance of winning more games, but just getting that consistency in with such a young team. Then Essendon in 14th, 9 wins. I'm predicting for this season. I think they're definitely going to go under. They're an 11.5 win-loss over-under line. Can't see them winning 12 or more games. They had 11 last season. Won all games as a favorite, but they were ranked 14th in attack and 15th in defense. So really low rankings for a team that still did manage to win 11 games. But they closed the season out losing 7 of their last 10. Like Essendon's a little bit of a tricky one, but I just think I find it difficult to see them winning 12 more games. They're kind of always on that bubble, just outside the top 8, but I think they might just drop off a little bit. They had the easiest draw last season, only managed to win 11 games, 8th easiest fixture this year, so it's a little bit more difficult, but just they're struggling on both sides of the ball. Yes, they have good players scattered throughout their lineup, but I just think there's too much of a difference between their top players and then the rest of the players in their team. Fremantle, I have in 13th, 9 wins predicted. I think they're another team that can go under the 10.5 wins predicted for them. They had 10 wins last season. We've always thought of like Fremantle as a good defensive side, but numbers-wise and statistically, they're not that good of a team defensively, and they do struggle in attack as well. Ranked 14th in points scored and 16th in inside 50s. So, to win games, you do need to be able to put points on unless you're very strong defensively. They do have an easiest fixture this year, 7th easiest compared to 14th ranked fixture last year. Night games, just looking at some of their stats in night games, they average 109 points compared to 76 in day games. So if they can transition those performances in night games to day matches, that's an area they can definitely improve. Definitely need to improve at home, losing record at home last season. Another one where I feel like you can go the under, but there's not a ton of value, but I'd be surprised to see them winning 11, 12 games. If it goes over, I don't think it's going to go over by all that much. Sydney Swans in 12th. They're a team where I probably could have put them a little bit higher, but just struggling to see a ton of upside with the Swans looking through their lineup. Just they put up good numbers consistently. They're 5th ranked attack, 8th ranked defense. However, there's just nothing that stands out. They play well together as a team, but nothing that makes you feel like they're like a genuine contender this year. And I feel like when we get through to the top 8, 9 teams, I feel like that area of the draw is very, very even. I don't think there's much between second and ninth, and even 10th I could throw into that boat. And so I had to push like some teams out, and Swans were the one. Just hard to see that much upside. Their win-loss is set at 13.5. They're $1.53 to make top 8, $10 to win the premiership. But I feel like they could definitely be missing finals this year and well and truly be going under that 13.5 win total. They only won 12 games last season with the toughest schedule, but it's not all that much easier than the 16th ranked schedule this year. So still very, very tough. And they only won 5 of 10 at home last year. So they weren't really creating a, strong base at home where they're winning 8, 9, 10 games in that situation. The Gold Coast Suns, I can see moving up this season. They won 9 last year. I can see them moving up to 11 this year. Damien Hardwick taking over. They're starting to become a bit more of a reliable team at home. They won 7 of 11 there in 2023, but did struggle away from home. So I feel like the away wins to winning 2 of 12, that number can come up to 4, 5 wins potentially this season. There should definitely be improvement in this team. And they have the easiest fixture of all the sides in the competition. Still ranked at 12th attack, 14th defense. So plenty of areas for improvement, but I can see that improvement happening for the Suns. Geelong, I have in 10th, but this is a team where, I feel like 1 or 2 games could, move them into the top 8 or push them out. They struggled in close games last season, which was costly, and they had a lot of injuries. They still were the number 2 attack, but number 11 defense. So they definitely have to clean up defensively. 8 and 4 at home. We expect the Cats to win plenty of games at home. I think they're going to win 7 or 8 games again this season. Just need to clean it up on the road, only winning 2 of 10 games. They won the premiership back in 2022. So to go from winning the premiership to missing the 8 last season was pretty big drop off, but putting that down to the number of injuries. They've won 12 games or more for the past 7 seasons straight. And so for the line to be set at 11.5, it's very interesting. The betting companies don't really have that much of opinion of the Cats this season. $1.91 to make top 8. Feel like I would prefer to be backing their win-loss over-under at 11.5, taking the over there, than I would be taking them to make the top 8 at basically the same price. The line in 2023 was 15.5, so that's dropped by 4 points. They have a much easier draw this year. 15th ranked fixture in 2023, all the way up to 5th easiest this season. So I'd be surprised if Geelong don't post 12, maybe 13 wins. As I said, I feel like they're right on that cusp of finals, as long as they stay healthy, which they didn't last year. Western Bulldogs have on 13 wins this season. They've won 12 games in their past 2 seasons and won 12 or more in 4 of their past 5. The only one they didn't was a shortened season in 2020. They had the second hardest draw last year, much easier this time around. Win-loss at 11.5. I think they can definitely go over that. And they're a genuine finals contender this year. Number 6 rated defense. So strong defenses keep you in games, and then you just got to convert your chances going forward. And I think, they're being slightly undervalued by the bookmakers with the setup they have. They just need to convert their opportunities going forward a little bit more and move into like a top 6, top 7 kind of attacking side, which they have the players on paper to be able to do that, especially with their midfield as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them as a contender trying to get into the top 8. The reason I just couldn't get the Bulldogs or Geelong in is because I just have Melbourne just hanging on, just because they're the number 1 defense in the competition, and defense is such a big component to winning games, and the teams that are the best defensive sides are the ones that are generally always up there. And Melbourne also do have a strong attack, rank 6. Plenty of off-field issues regarding Clayton Oliver coming into this season. Their win-loss is set at 14.5, the same as it was last year. I'd probably be leaning just on the underside, even though they have won 16 games in their past 2 and 17 games in 2021. I feel like they're just going to drop off just a little bit. But they're still definitely a team around the mark. Have them finishing on 14 wins. They have been eliminated straight sets in the finals after finishing top 4 in the past 2 seasons. So struggling when the pressure goes on. But they have been good as underdogs. Just on another note, very similar fixture for last year. They're the number 1 inside 50 team. So, and number 1 in opponent shots on goal. So definitely a good team at controlling field position. And for that reason, I have them around the mark, but I can see them just slowly starting to slip down. Adelaide Crows I have moving into the top 8 this season. They only won 11 games last year with the number 1 attack. I have them moving up to 14 wins coming into this season. It's a bit of a jump, but I think they're a team that can do it. I think they're good value to make the top 8 at $1.80. They're the 10th ranked defense last season, but I think they can definitely improve in that area. Even losing Tom Doty goes to the Brisbane Lions. Just need to drop the number of free kicks they're giving up. But they're a good team at controlling possession. They give up the least disposals and uncontested possessions to the opposition. Just need to tighten up how much the opposition conversion rate and inside efficiency rate when they go inside 50, and just tighten up how they perform away. They only won 3 of 11 away from Adelaide last season, and we're conceding, what was the number? They concede 24 more points on average on the road than they do at home. So conceding 94 away compared to only 70 at home. So they are a capable defensive side. They just need to bring that to the road. So that's main reason have them moving up. I can see them continuing to improve. They only won 3 games in 2020, 7 in 2021, 8 in 2022, 11 last year. And I think I can see them going over the 12.5 over under number for this year. St Kilda in 6th. St Kilda are a very good defensive side, ranked 2nd, but 16th in attack. They are like, their whole game plan is built on defense. And so that's the style we've seen it be successful over the years. But to be a genuine contender, they will need to improve the attacking side of their game. They're a team that never wins by much. 11 of their 13 wins were by 1 to 39 points, and 10 of their 11 losses were by 1 to 39 as well. The mid-season part for them is the key. They're generally solid starters, solid finishers, but just need to clean up the middle part of the season. I am surprised that over-under is only at 11.5. They won 13 games last season, have the 4th easiest draw this year, so easier draw than last year. Be very surprised if they lose 11 or less games this year, the Saints, as long as that defense stays in similar categories as what we saw last season. So they're a definite big over on their season wins. Carlton, I have in 5th position, and like the Carlton and St Kilda are 2 teams that could easily slip into the top 4. Carlton were the number 4 defense last season and number 13 attack. They did get lucky in close games. They won all 6 games decided by 2 goals or less, which is a little bit of a concern, especially since we have them moving up from 13 wins up to 14 wins. Feel like they're over under at 14.5. It's a little bit ambitious. I feel like it's just a touch too high, and to win 15 games will take a big effort. Especially with a more difficult draw coming up this year. They play the Lions at the Gabba in the opening round, which so they go back to the home of where their season kind of ended last year. And just definitely need to improve in attack. Very inaccurate in front of goal and very inefficient going inside 50. So the fact they still did win 13 games last year with a poor attack, their defense likely holds up going into this season as well. So improving their attack is going to be key, and being efficient going inside 50. So if we see that efficiency inside 50 improve, that's going to really help Carlton's overall record, and they would push for a top 4 spot if that's the case. The other area for Carlton is their performances at home. Away games, they were great last year, winning 9 of 13, but went for 50% at home. So that's another key area for them. The GWS Giants have moving into the top 4 this season. 13 wins last year. I can see them going just over. I feel like this is another team similar to Carlton where Their win-loss at 14.5 is going to take a really good season to go over, but the Giants were only 1 point away from a grand final appearance last year, so they were right there. They've made finals in 6 of the past 8 seasons. I feel like they'll be pushing for a top 4 spot, and a chance, if they really put it all together, to be a genuine grand final contender again. They've been a bit inconsistent. In 2019, they won 13 games, 8 in 2020, 11 in 2021, 6 in 2022, then 13 last season. So that consistency year on year is going to be what's going to be important for the Giants. We'll be able to take a look at that early. One thing I'd like to see for the Giants to be a genuine top 4 premiership contender is to create that strong record at home. Away from home, they've been able to get the wins and put in good performances, but they haven't been able to do that at home in Western Sydney. So that'll be a key area. If they can win, 8 or 9 games at home this season, then I feel like they're genuine top 2, top 3 contender, because I don't think there's much between these 3 to 6 teams through this era of the ladder. Port Adelaide in 3rd position. I feel like they're another top 4 contender. Their win-loss at 13.5, I feel like is a touch low. They won 17 games last season. I can see them coming back a little bit. The Pythag only had them winning 14 games last year. But when you look through their results, they were really good, and mostly the only games that they weren't as good in were against the top side. So they won the games that they should have had, and then the only times they were beaten were by top teams. Finished top 4 in 3 of their past 4 seasons. Be surprised if they're that far out of it. I feel like $3 to make the top 4 is a fair enough price, probably not a ton of value there. And as I said, I'm also like the win-loss over-unders to focus on. For the first opening 8 rounds, they've won 6 of those games in 3 of the past 4 seasons. Just need to improve the final third. They won 13 straight games last year, so made that really big run. They do have the 2nd most difficult fixture coming into this year. So for the fact that they didn't win as many games, they won more games than they should have last year, and also they have a tougher draw this year. I have them dropping slightly, but I think they're definitely a top 4 contender again. Number 4 attack, number 12 defense. They got to improve defensively, especially in points conceded and not giving up goals a lot of the time when teams go inside 50 against them. Collingwood's the last year's reigning premiers, having 2nd. They won 18 games last year, have them winning 15 games. They've just been very good in close games. Last year, they won 9 of 10 games decided by 2 goals or less. They won 11 of 14 games in 2022. That's 20 of 24 games in the past 2 seasons that they've been on the winning side of that have been decided by 2 goals or less. So kind of you could say they've been a bit unlucky. You could also say, they've been really good in those key moments in 4th quarters. I feel like there's a bit of truth to both of those statements. They're number 7 attack, number 3 defense. So solid on both sides of the ball. They're definitely going to be a contender again this season, but I don't think I'd be surprised, put it that way, if they go back-to-back this year. They're only $5 to win the premiership. I feel like that's a touch too short. They'll make the top 8. I can see them going under their season win over under 15.5, and especially with another tough draw that they've been presented with this season. I feel like if we're constantly seeing them winning those close games again, yes, they're going to be around the mark. But, once got them 3 wins less than last season, and I feel like it's going to be around that mark. I feel like they're going to be a 14 to 15 win team this season. And then in top spot on the ladder, I have the Brisbane Lions. They're the number 3 attack, number 5 defense last season. Bring in Tom Doty to improve their defense. Don't really lose anything in attack either. They won all 14 games at home, 12 as a favorite, 2 as an underdog. Obviously, the issue with the Lions winning the premiership is their performances at the MCG, but they were in front with a minute or so to go in the grand final, about 2 minutes to go, and gave up another goal to Collingwood. So they're very close. That's the point is, we know with the Lions, they're going to win 10, 11 games at home this season, and they just need to put in good performances on the road. They do have Fremantle, West Coast, Gold Coast, and Adelaide on the road. So they're all real winnable games. The other ones are against more so top teams. So I feel like they can definitely, win 4 to 5, maybe even 6 this year on the road. I feel like they're going to be a better team than last year. They're number 2 in points per game, number 6 in points conceded. So really solid both sides of the ball. Can see them going over their 15.5 win total and be very, very surprised if the Lions finish out of the top 2. The only reason I don't see them doing that is, if mentally how they lost the grand final really affected them, but I don't think that's going to be the case. They're well coached by Chris Fagan. And the Lions pretty much need to finish top 2 to get the home qualifying final and a home prelim and give themselves another shot at the premiership. But I would be surprised if they're not in the grand final again this season and can go one better. When we look at what it takes to win the premiership, so we bring up the results of the past premiers all the way back to 2012. We can see out of all these premiership winners, the Western Bulldogs were the only side to not finish top 3 on the ladder in those seasons. So once it gets closer to the end of the season, you really tune it down to the top 3. As I said, though, this season is a lot more even. Outside the Lions, I feel like are the only real standout side. Then from an attacking perspective, what it takes to win the premiership, you don't necessarily have to be the number 1 attacking side. Like we saw last year, the Crows were the best attacking side, didn't even make finals. So you don't need to be, number 1, number 2 attacking side like Hawthorn were back from 2013 to 2015. Teams are getting away with winning being a top 4, top 5, top 6 even attacking side. But you want to be in that bubble, but you also want to back your top 4, top 5 attack with a top 4 defense. A lot of these premiership winners are top 3, even number 1 defenses. But the key is pairing both together. Compared to the NRL, top defenses are very, very hard to beat at the end of the year. AFL, you need it on both sides of the ball. It's hard. Other than the Bulldogs are the only team to, rank this one, being 12th and 3rd ranked. Basically, you need to be top in both categories, not necessarily first, but just top 4 to top 6 in both. But do like teams with strong defenses and good enough attacks. So that's why I like the Lions to win the premiership this year. At $5.50, I feel like they should be favored. They're going to be there in the prelim finals. I can definitely count on that. So I feel like there is a bit of value for them and would have them closer to the $4.20 mark. Because even with injuries, they're a team with a lot of depth as well. They've got to get through the hardest fixture first of all, but we know they're super strong at home, and so that's going to hold them in really good stead. So Lions are top pick. Outside of them, the teams I feel like can make a run of it if everything clicks are GWS and Carlton, but I just don't think they're going to be quite at the level. Feel like Collingwood drop off a little bit just with winning too many close games over the past couple of seasons. St Kilda need to improve too much in attack. So Lions a clear top pick for the premiership this season. So hope you guys have a winning AFL season. I'm going to post an in-depth preview of all 18 teams from where you can look at them from a betting perspective. So we can look at how we can make money on these teams this season. So make sure you check out those videos throughout the rest of the channel. I'm going to be posting those leading right up to the start of the AFL season. I'm super excited for this year. Every year with AFL is an awesome opportunity to make plenty of money by selecting key games. And we don't want to bet just based on our opinion. We want to bet based off what the statistics and data are telling us. So make sure you check out those other videos, and I'll chat to you guys soon.